So in this set of videos, we're going to be talking about things like the lungs and the heart. And I want to break down the structure of the lungs, the importance of the lungs, the functions of the lungs, which most of you guys may know, but I'm going to break it down a little bit more nerdy. And so you have a more in-depth understanding on the lungs themselves. Okay, so when we're talking about the structure of the lungs are the largest organ in the body by far. They are huge. Okay, they're two big sacs of air that sit right there on your chest. Okay, and each lung is divided into lobes, okay, or sections. The right lung has 3 lobes, the upper, the middle, and the lower lobe, while the left lung has 2 lobes, the upper and the lower lobe. Now, when it comes to these airways, there are airways within the lungs. Okay, and this is what we're more familiar with when it comes to the lungs. We're more familiar with the bronchial tree. Okay, whenever we think of the lungs and we get a vision in our mind of the lungs, what we're looking at is really the bronchial tree, as you can see on the screen. And these are the airways that are within the lungs that form this tree, this network, known as the bronchial tree. That's what it is. There's airways within us that look like a tree, and they have these branches that come out. It has the trunk, right, which is the trachea or our windpipe, and then it has the branches, the bronchi, the bronchioles, the alveoli. Okay, and the alveoli are the terminal ends of the bronchial tree. They're like small little sacs, like small little air sacs. And this is where that gas exchange that we all know about happens. You know, that oxygen for carbon dioxide. That's really where it goes down, is in these small sacs. And these are surrounded by a network of capillaries that allow the oxygen from the air to diffuse into the bloodstream, and then carbon dioxide to diffuse out of the bloodstream into the air. So the air that we breathe is directly connected to the health of our blood. It is directly connected to our blood because that is where the exchange happens. It's connected. There's a special network of capillaries that attach to these alveoli, these little small air sacs that get filled up with this air that we're breathing. And in there is that sacred exchange of oxygen for carbon dioxide. And it's exchanged directly out of our bloodstream. Okay, so our bloodstream is directly affected by the air that we breathe. Okay, we all need to understand that. We all need to remember that. That is very, very vital for you to understand. Now, each lung is enclosed with this double layered membrane. Okay, and this membrane is what protects us. This membrane is double layered. It has the inner layer, the visceral layer. This adheres to the lung surface. So this goes against the lung surface. And then you have the outer layer that lines the chest cavity. Okay, and so what happens is this membrane, if we are breathing in toxic chemicals all the time, this membrane, or if we're breathing in a lot of fungus, if we have a lot of bacteria building up, if we breathe in a lot of smoke, this membrane starts to secrete this mucus that protects us, right? Because it's a defense mechanism. It's not a bad thing. The excess amounts of mucus is the bad thing, but the process of the mucus forming is not necessarily the bad thing. What made it form is the bad thing. I can say that. You know, whatever smoke or whatever toxins or whatever pollution or whatever gas that you may be smelling, that is what promoted the membrane to secrete the mucus. But the mucus and the mucous membrane that's there is there to protect us. Okay, so understand that. Right, so the lungs, they're essentially these two big sacs that have a tree inside of it, and this tree brings in the air through the windpipe, brings in the air, brings it into the branches and disperses them to the branches. On the ends of these branches, there are little circles, like little sacs that fill up with the oxygen, and the blood throws in the carbon dioxide. It takes out the oxygen, throws in the blood, the carbon dioxide into these sacs, and then when we exhale, the sacs are released. The branches and the whole sac is released. Everything is released into the air, and that is that sacred exchange that we know as breathing. Okay, so that is pretty much what the lungs are there for. They're there for a gas exchange. They're there to exchange the oxygen and the carbon dioxide, okay, between the air that we breathe and the bloodstream. That is the connection between the air and the blood is the lungs, okay? Ventilation. So they also play a really important part in ventilation, the process of inhaling and exhaling. That's what the lungs do. They help us inhale, they help us exhale. Respiration. In addition to that gas exchange, the lungs help regulate blood pH by controlling the levels of carbon dioxide in the body. So your lungs directly connected to the health of your blood. If the pH is going low, or if the pH it doesn't really move too much in the blood. It really doesn't. Because if it moved too much, you would be dead pretty fast. So when it's like pH is not necessarily as quick as a pH change or as massive of a pH change like you would see in the pancreas, in the small intestines, I should say, when the bicarbonate from the pancreas hits the chyme, the partially digested food out of the stomach. It goes from a very low pH of that chyme to a higher pH that our bodies can handle because of that. Because of when the bicarbonate and the food meet, because of their polar opposites, the alkalizing of the bicarbonate, the alkalinity of the bicarbonate is going to bring up that pH. So it's similar to like lemon juice. You put lemon juice straight into a cup, drink it, super acidic, dilute it with water, which is a higher on the alkaline on the pH scale, then it's going to taste less acidic, right? It's the same concept. Your lungs do that for your blood. However, like I said, it's not a huge change in pH. It's not from 7 to 4. You would die. You know what I mean? So it's like 0.0 or point this pH. It's not a huge change. However, the change is detrimental if there is a change. Okay, because the blood is supposed to be perfect at all times. Okay, so that is a big part of your body, or your lungs. The function of your lungs is maintaining that blood pH because of the carbon dioxide in the body. Okay, the carbon dioxide is more the acidic, and then the oxygen is very alkalizing. That's why if you breathe and do a breathing exercise and you have a lot of oxygen going in you, eventually you're going to feel this coolness in your airways, this coolness in your sinuses, this coolness in whether your throat, whether you're breathing through your mouth or you're breathing through your nose, whichever one, you'll feel this this coolness come in. And that's because the alkalinity is higher on the oxygen. So it's colder, essentially. Okay. And so inflammation, flame, fire, acidic, right? The opposite is the oxygenated, anti-inflammatory, oxygenation, colder really. And so that is what the lungs are there for. They're also equipped with various mechanisms, including, like I talked about, the mucus production and immune cells like macrophages to protect against inhaled pathogens, pollutants, foreign substances, harmful substances, pollution, you know what I mean? So it's like things that aren't supposed to be in the air, things that aren't supposed to because there's a wildfire, or because society started making cars with gas and society started putting this in the air and spraying this in the air and all this type of stuff, right? The lungs are there to have an immune defense role as well. Okay, because imagine, I just talked about all the air from everything that we breathe, the air is in direct connection to the bloodstream because of the lungs. So if there is nothing to filter out the pollutants, the blood is going to be polluted very quickly. Okay? So there has to be some type of immune defense. There has to be some type of immune response coming from the lungs. And that comes in the form of the mucus production. That's why you spit up loogies, right? That's how you spit out, get boogies in the sinuses. You cough up you hack up all this mucus. That's just a mucosa. That's the membrane protecting you. It's your responsibility to get it out. The body is going to do what it do to get it out, but it's your responsibility to assist your body in getting that mucus out. If it does not come out, it is going to simply start burning up your lungs. It's going to create fluid in your lungs. And that's simply because of these foreign pathogens were just stuck in there. A lot of people that suffer from that are people that are surrounded by mold, people that are in construction, people that are surrounded by fine powders, people that are surrounded by toxic cleaning supplies and perfumes and things that are being sprayed. You're going to be producing a lot of mucus in the lungs, and that is to protect you. But you have to get it out. Okay, you have to get it out. All right, as well as viruses. You have immune cells in there, so you have macrophages in there. Macrophages are immune cells who go around just eat things. Okay, who go around and just break toxins down. They eat toxins, they eat waste, they eat it up and then move it on. Okay, so if you feel like you are breathing in loads of viruses and those viruses are starting to come after you, or it's starting to overload your body, now you know you have a weak immune response in the lungs. And the way that you can help with that is going to be over in the herbal section. There are certain essential oils, there are certain things that you can do where you can breathe in herbs and actually allow them to help you in that way as well. Or allow you to get rid of certain bacterias and funguses and help eliminate viruses just by breathing in certain herbs through steams or oils or whatever may be the case. The chronic things that are the chronic diseases or the chronic ailments that you see from the liver or that comes from the lungs is going to be COPD, asthma and COPD are going to be the most common ones. COPD is it's chronic bronchitis. So again, itis, we have bronchi. Bronchi is what? In the lungs. Whenever you hear bronchi, it's in the lungs. Then when you hear itis, it is inflammation. So inflammation in the bronchi, inflammation in the lungs. That is what COPD is chronic bronchitis and emphysema, which is characterized by airflow limitation and difficulty breathing. Yeah, your lungs cannot work properly, expand properly if there is loads of mucosa on it, loads of mucus that you're not getting rid of. If it's being, bogged down by all the mucus being produced because of all the pollutants you're breathing. And it cannot expand fully and allow this airflow if you have sinuses that are clogged up due to this excess amount of mucus being produced from the mucous membranes. And then you have asthma. Asthma they call it a chronic inflammatory condition, but in my opinion, in my knowing and in my experience, I've had asthma. And I've helped other people with asthma. I view asthma as more of a neurological thing. Now, yes, of course, there's inflammation at root, but I also view it as a neurological response. So it is, again, that endocrine, that hormonal, that neurological thing I was talking about for the pancreas and the liver and stuff. That part of your body is out of whack, which is leading to the lungs being out of whack, and that's why you get that wheezing. That's why you get that sudden shortness of breath. That's why it's in episodes. So that's not all the time. It just pops up here and there. You get that wheezing, that chest tightness. You feel like you can't breathe, right? That is more so of the neurological, endocrine, like hormonal side of things. Of course, paired with the inflammation that is already on the mucosa of the lungs. Now you have pneumonia, which is the inflammation of the lung tissue. But this one is more so like the bacteria, the viruses, the fungus, and the pathogens. Those are winning the battle. And your body isn't eliminating them properly. Again, but this is the lungs. That's the immune defense that they have. And what is it used for? The immune defense, immune cells, and then the mucosa. So if the mucosa is overburdened, again, if it's overburdened, it's going to be holding on to things. It's going to be holding on to this bacteria and this fungus and these pathogens that are supposed to be eliminated. So the lungs cannot work properly. But also you have to look at your immune cells. And if you go back to the adrenal kidney portion of the lessons, you're going to learn that immune cells and immune responses are simply a neurological and endocrine thing. Okay, so a lot of people have these what they call them autoimmune diseases. They're not autoimmune. Your nervous system and your endocrine system is just never shutting off. It's on hyperdrive. So it's not auto. It might feel like it's automatic because it keeps happening, but that's only because the endocrine and the neurological system are on overdrive. Okay? So if you have that, you're constantly stressed, you're constantly traumatized, you get no sleep, your hormones are out of whack, your neurological system is out of whack, you're going to have these types of things. You're going to have weak immune responses because the body's not focused on that. It's focused on this battle that it has to win. It's focused on reducing this adrenaline and this cortisol. But that's only when it feels like you're safe. Till then, it's keeping it pumping. Okay, and it's a problem with a lot of people. You have lung cancer, of course, and these are the cancerous growths these are cancerous tumors in the lungs. And again, I said it once and I'm going to say it again. Cancer is simply just inflammation gone on too long. Inflammation gone on to the point where now it's eating up the cell, and now this cell is basically going to self-destruct and kill off the cells around it. And it's going to have this domino effect to the cells around it. Okay? The bad fruit ruins the bunch. So if you have one cell that's dying and it's imploding, it's going to start killing off the cells around it. And cancer is when that process already happens, just at a slowed down version, depending on what diet you have. But the process already happens on a day-to-day basis. We go through cells, we produce new cells. It's not abnormal, but when it becomes abnormal, and when it becomes too rapid, and when it becomes too aggressive, that's when you have the cancer. And it's happening at a faster rate because of, again, the inflammation. Now it's not just, these cells are getting old and they're going to die off and we're going to build new ones. Now it's, no, they're getting burnt out, they're getting burnt up, they're getting destroyed, they're getting poisoned because of what's coming in the body. So they're dying rapidly. They're not dying from old age, which many cells don't live very long. That's why they say that you can heal the body in a year, because in 365 days, the body will basically renew itself by eliminating the old cells and breeding new cells. That's the way the body works. That's why you can regenerate anything if you give it the right amount of time. Okay? And so the cancer is when it's not regenerating. At this point, it's going the other way, and it's doing it in a very fast pace. And it's taking everything down with it that's around it. That's why your body makes these tumors to encapsulate it and trap it into like a little ball, to allow the body to break it down further to eliminate it. Okay? And these cancers are when those tumors and those cysts and those stones and all those buildups aren't eliminated properly, or aren't eliminated in a good amount of time, and they've done a lot of damage while they are there. How much damage could toxins that you encapsulate do? A lot, if you leave them in there for too long. Okay? If you eliminate them, you won't have the problem, but we have problems with elimination. Okay? I hope you know that by now, based off of all the videos that you've been watching and the other lessons.